Whether you're running a meeting in front of 10 people or you're standing up presenting in front of 60, the ability to communicate effectively in front of an audience is pretty important. But for many, including myself, it can be fairly nerve-wracking. I have had the dry mouth, legs shaking, hands visibly shaking in anticipation of public speaking, which sounds kind of funny, but is actually deeply humiliating in the moment. I can still vividly remember those points where my piece of paper that I've had is actually moving and I know that everyone can see it, and I feel deeply embarrassed and have to keep plowing through, even though I am so extremely nervous. So public speaking has not been easy, and it's something that I will continue to work on. But I have learned a few things in my leadership journey to help make me more comfortable and confident in speaking in front of others. Today I'm going to break it down into 4 actionable tips that have worked for me. The first tip is to know your audience and target your message accordingly. Are you speaking to your colleagues, your frontline team, or the general public? It's key to keep this front of mind when you're preparing for what you're going to say to this audience, as it will change depending on who that audience is. If I'm speaking in front of my colleagues, I'm potentially going to be slightly more relaxed, use work jargon that others probably wouldn't understand, and potentially feel comfortable enough to insert humour, as I would know them well enough to know what was appropriate. If I was speaking to my wider team or the whole team, I wouldn't be quite as relaxed, and I'd probably be more deliberate about what it was I wanted to say to them and the message that I needed to get across. And if it were the general public, I'd potentially be more formal depending on the topic, and I wouldn't have any jargon, as I would want to ensure that everybody could understand and follow along with what I was saying. So when I'm thinking about tip 1 and tailoring your message to your audience, I'm considering how I'm talking and the language that I'm using to make sure that my message resonates. Tip number 2 is to craft a compelling story. People tend to connect to a story. They may not remember all of the content of what was said, but they will remember how it made them feel. So the idea would be to try and grab them with a strong feeling or emotion to get their attention right from the outset. At the start of the video, I talked about speaking in front of 10 people or speaking in front of 60, with the idea that you as the viewer would picture yourself standing in front of 10 people or standing in front of 60 people, and perhaps feeling nervous and uncomfortable, as I described I have in the past. It is also helpful to use examples, anecdotes, or humour to illustrate your points. So I use my own personal experience with public speaking as an example to try and make it more interesting, or at least try and highlight that I have had to overcome these struggles, and hopefully help introduce the fact that I might have some tips that can help others too. The hope is that it's not just a way to remind myself of those embarrassing speaking moments, but it might actually make it more memorable for you as the viewer. Now, for those of you who are new to my channel, my name is Nikki and I've been in leadership for over 17 years, going from leading just 2 people to leading leaders of large teams. And tip number 3 is practice makes progress. Yes, progress, not perfect. The pressure to be exceptional will be my complete undoing if I lay that emphasis on being perfect, as then I'll just feel like I need to practice until I'm absolutely perfect. Whereas I know for myself, I just need to practice until I feel a little bit more comfortable. Even comfortable, it's a strong word, but as long as I'm feeling confident that I know what I'm going to say and I have a really clear message and I'm happy with the content, then I practice it. Often repeating it out loud really helps to solidify my delivery. I don't know if I'll ever get to the point in public speaking where I don't need notes. And I am very envious of those people that can just stand up and deliver a message with no prep, nerves, or apparent concern for the audience. It's extremely impressive to me and was part of the journey for me in starting this YouTube channel and being able to build my speaking ability, which I do think has improved. So I will prepare what I need to say for any public speaking occasion that requires me to deliver a key message, particularly if it's in front of a group that I don't usually speak to. It really helps me stay on track and feel more confident about what it is I'm saying, particularly when I know that I will feel a little bit nervous. The more prepped I feel, the more confident I will feel when it's time. Tip number 4 is to remember body language. It's important to make eye contact with the audience to try and build connection. Don't be weird about it though. Don't just stare at one person into their eyes. It's going to creep them out. But making eye contact with people does build connection. If I'm standing, I try and remember my posture and using a few hand gestures, but in a natural way. Some people use their hands a lot to emphasize certain points, but it's whatever's comfortable. If you don't have a microphone, which to be fair, if I'm having to use a microphone, I'm dialing up the nervousness quite a bit. But if you don't have one and you're just talking to a large group, you may need to project your voice a little bit to be heard, and consider your tone to help keep people engaged. Using the same monotone the whole time can be quite boring for people. And yes, I know, if you watch some of my earlier videos, I do slip a bit in the tone stakes. But hey, I'm trying. So if public speaking makes you shake in your boots a bit like me, try some of these tips and let me know in the comments what hacks you have for public speaking so that I can try some of them out too. And thanks very much for watching.